There's no dream of making an album with Biggie and Puffy or none of them. We're not sweating it like that. They sell records, we sell records. Well, I guess you could call that selling records, what they do. Really, there's no competition. People are really making too much out of it than it is. And the East Coast, West Coast thing is something that the journalists and people are making just to get paid off it so it can drag out. So they're perpetuating it so it can be drama. When it all go down, don't look at me.
Big up the East Coast and the West Coast, but you can't big up no coast when you go.
They got caught up in all the hype. And if Tupac came back from the dead now to hear this interview, you would agree. They got caught up in the hype. And Public Enemy prophesied, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. You know, and they got caught up. Biggie, they all got caught up, and it's a shame because we ain't supposed to go out like that.
East Coast, West Coast thing, why was that going down?
Somebody just wanted to make a mountain out of molehill, you know? It's not that deep.
When it all go down, don't look at me and Biggie and be like, why is there a big East Coast, West Coast war when you're shooting this to 300 homes, 300 countries, telling them about an East Coast, West Coast war that they would never know exists. We'll try to be better role models, and y'all try to stop putting that drama out there. You got a lot of power, a lot of responsibility. We both do. We both need to exercise greater restraint.
Here is the reason why I'm so concerned, because you must learn.
This applies to the 12th principle as well, because this, let me just read this piece right, where is it? Right here. At no time shall hip-hop culture engage in any violent war within itself. We learned that lesson the hard way. We learned it by the loss of these two icons right here. Biggie is on the West because that's where he was shot at. He was shot and killed on the West Coast, Las Vegas. Tupac is on the East because the first time he was shot was in New York City. We want to keep our children reminded, when you violate the 12th principle, you wind up like Tupac Biggie, who probably wanted to get out of that battle, get out of that war, get out of that beat, but couldn't. Because the whole hip-hop culture was, yeah, East Coast, West Coast, yeah, and the magazines are making money on it. So they forced these two brothers to keep fighting until somebody, neither one of them were even affiliated with, probably, especially when it comes to pop.
That's West Coast.
These people, their crew, so to speak, start shooting at each one of them. Do you think Pop would have pulled the gun on Biggie? No. Would Biggie have pulled the gun on Pop? No. But their crew, that's what happens when you violate the 12th principle. These are not laws, by the way. This is advice. You go against the advice, there are real consequences in life. Yes. Let me just breeze through. Thank you. Diplomacy before war. Diplomacy before war. Diplomacy before war.
Yo, YouTube, what up? It's your homie Gab, I'm in the building. And this is Machiavelli Media. So for the last probably 30 plus years, the Blastmaster KRS-One has been teaching lectures about hip-hop all over the world. In the Dirty South, on the West Coast, back home in the East Coast, in South Africa, Korea, Germany, New Zealand, Australia. Yeah, you get it, all over the globe. KRS-One has been conducting courses about hip-hop. Everywhere from Harvard to the hood. And one of his points of reference is, yes, the murder of Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace, a.k.a. Biggie Smalls. Now, just like a true OG, or just like a true teacher, he uses their deaths as a teachable moment. He tries to deter people that's trying to learn about hip-hop culture, not to follow into Tupac and Biggie's footsteps by committing to a beef that ultimately will become violent and somebody could lose their lives. In this case, more than one individuals. But it was very interesting the stance he took in this clip from his lecture. One of the things he said is that he believes that Tupac and Biggie would have never physically pulled a gun on each other. He said he don't believe Tupac would pull a gun on Biggie, and he didn't believe Biggie would pull a gun on Tupac. But the whole thing about Tupac and Biggie probably not pulling guns on each other, I don't know if I buy that completely. Because it was some things that took place that just it was no coming back from. Let's just keep it a buck. If Tupac really believed that his buddy Biggie set him up at Quad Studio or knew about it and let him get Swiss cheese like that, like, nah, we can't be cool no more after that. And Tupac, he talked about, giving Faith to D on album, which was Biggie's wife. Like, there's no coming back from that. So, that's a situation where if they seen each other, it could have went left real quick. But it's definitely a situation where the public got involved, and you can't back down from something like that. Like, how do Biggie call himself the king of New York, and it's a guy walking around saying he bumped your wife? He gave your wife the D. On record. And people vouching, yeah, it happened. And, if you the Dawn of the West Coast, and these guys shot you, and you telling people they shot you, people looking like, well, what you gonna do about it? So it was a situation where a 24-year-old and a 25-year-old probably didn't know how to back down, probably didn't know how to say, like, yo, I'm ready to move past this now. Like, I got money coming in. I got other bitches I'm dealing with. I'm tired of talking about Biggie. Or Biggie like, yo, I don't even fuck with Faith no more. I'm tired of hearing about Tupac. Real player shit. There was no way, for them to really back out of that. Let's just keep it a buck. So in KRS-One's opinion, that this was a rap battle that probably could have just stayed on wax if it had not been for their entourages. You heard him say somebody from Tupac's crew probably pulled a gun on somebody from Biggie's crew, and it got out of hand, and that helped escalate the situation. Another part of we're going to get back to that. Another part of his lecture that I thought was interesting is that he also agreed that these two brothers may have wanted to move past the beef, but wasn't able to step down in the macho-driven hip-hop industry where you look like a softy if you want to squash the beef, or you the first one to say, nah, I ain't with it. You know what I mean? It was basically no opportunity for these two young brothers to say, you know what, it ain't worth it. At the end of the day, I know both of these MCs wish that they probably could have walked away from it. But KRS-One said the magazine companies was making a grip off of this beef, and you had people hyping up the East Coast versus West Coast rap feud, selling magazine papers. You had other rappers jumping in trying to make money, like Ice Cube and, other people that was on the bandwagon trying to ride the train, not knowing where it was going to end, ultimately, in death. So you heard Tupac say that. It's not a real East Coast versus West Coast beef. Basically, it was a feud between two people, and the whole circus came along with it. People putting their pictures on magazine covers and selling newspapers and mixtapes and money, 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 money. KRS-One, yes, I do believe that all played a part in the situation. But let's get back to the entourage. What does homeboys that don't have nothing to do with the rap music, what value do they bring to the table of the MC? If all he can do is have your back in a beef and he want to keep eating, what does he do? Look for beef. So the rapper would need him, right? If the rapper ain't beefing, what do he need the muscle around for? Eating up all the food, smoking up all the weed, drinking up all the drink, spending up all the money. So I can see that as well. I can see the entourages, wanting beef, keeping the MC engaged in beef, perpetuating beef to the rapper, keeping the rapper's involvement, ultimately keeping his self-worth to the rapper. I can definitely agree with that. No matter how KRS-One felt about, Tupac dissing New York, or, where hip-hop was headed at the time with the whole East Coast versus West Coast. Because, let me say this and make this very clear. We touched on this the last video. KRS-One is famous for his beef with MC Shan. It was bloodshed in the streets of New York over who invented hip-hop, the whole Queensbridge versus South Bronx. That was a big thing. MC Shan was saying at the shows, he used to get wild. You had the Bronx in the house, you had Queens in the house. Yeah, like I say, this guy, KRS-One, used to rush the stage and take microphones from people before, Old Dirty Bastard was doing that. That was Chris, that was KRS-One. But for him to see, this beef between Tupac and Biggie, that was some other shit. For him to be like, wait a minute. Like, this is getting out of hand. So it was, like I said, it was a different energy involved with the whole Tupac and Biggie beef. And Tupac told you, this ain't no freestyle battle, all you niggas getting killed with your mouths open. He was telling you this wasn't no rap battle. So, it's so many different layers to what exactly happened to Tupac and Biggie. But I thought it was fascinating that KRS-One uses what happened to Pac and Big as a teachable moment, as a life lesson to, up-and-coming MCs or the young or the youth or anybody that's trying to get engaged with rap music. He was saying, don't let your kids forget about Tupac and Biggie. This is what happened when, rappers get entwined with, violence outside of just battle rap. This is where it's headed. And you know what? For the last, I'd say, 20 plus years, he's right. How many times on the computer, or on YouTube, or however you get your news, your source of information, how often do you hear about rap feuds that turn violent now and artists lose their life? Happens way too often. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to sub to the channel. This is Machiavelli Media. Don't forget to turn on your post notifications so you'll be the first to get it when I drop that shit. All right? It's been a pleasure as always. I'm your homie Gab. I'm signing off. I'm about to hit y'all with the peace.